All right, hello and welcome everybody. Good evening. This is Copa America Group B. Some good action going to happen down here tonight. Spawning here though in the bottom left corner of the map to start the evening in this first best of 3 for this group stage. From IVD Gaming, the blue Terran player Ruff.
In the upper right, as the red Terran, it is Jarppi.
Let's pull you, Zombie Grub, see how much you've been paying attention. Do you recall what clan this is?
Renegades. No.
Close. Next 2 words.
Of hell?
Yeah, nailed it. Well
Okay.
played. Renegades of Hell, of
Yay.
course, not the most renowned team you guys have ever heard of, but they will always hold a little special place in my heart. Once again, a long time ago, they participated in a team league that I was a part of, casted, and got to organize this, of course, when Refkin was even less than a nobody. And yeah, they were very, very polite. They were very easy to work with, and because of that, whether they are totally the best players in the universe or the worst players in the universe, I always hold them to a little bit of high regard due to that. But
They're
TBT,
probably neither. Just saying.
well, I guess you could be in between.
I guess
Whatever,
so.
Zombie Girl. I was gonna
Seems
say
like a
though,
stretch.
this is normally where we would sit there and talk about like, okay, most TVTs are ending with a 1-1-1. People don't have these supply depots at the ramps, blah blah blah. But if we're gonna be real here, guys, real talk from Refkin. I know that's nothing surprising. We got Ruff here. He plays a little bit different than most and a little bit stranger than all. So while Jarppi might be prepared to take on a typical TVT, I don't think we're gonna see too much of that.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Jarppi. Ruff did at least 2 matches, I believe, in his in the bracket. I guess it was that were TVT, and both times he just looked really strong. It would even be 3 times, but all 3 times I think he only lost 1 TVT, like 1 match, one game rather.
Yeah, I mean, Ruff, the thing about him that's nice is he's no stranger to like the regular metagame. Like, come to the 20-minute mark, Marine tank, he'll be set and good to go, maybe transition to air if given the opportunity. But as far as the standard openings, a Reaper poke, 2 Marines and an SCV, faster Hellions, whatever the case may be, Ruff is typically the guy who takes the path less traveled, I suppose you could call it. He doesn't follow the standards of the game, and because of this, it actually makes him an incredibly difficult player to play against.
Yeah, it's always so unique before 10 minutes, and this is the map where he's at least, I believe he's shown it twice. He's shown it a few more times if you watch his stream or you watch him playing someone who is streaming. I know that Paul was facing him, like, a couple of matches in a row. This is the map where he does the nuke rush. It's the factory and the nukes and proxies the barracks.
Yeah, that was a bit of fun to watch. It's always a little bit iffy on whether they'll be effective or not, but it was still pretty fun to watch when we saw it happen during the qualifiers. For those who don't know,
Yeah.
we did highlight that. It's up on both the Copa America YouTube and the base trade one as well, so you should have no problem finding it.
Yeah.
Nuke rush
Well,
for Ruff.
If Ruff isn't nuking, it's almost guaranteed he's going to be going Hellions if there's only 1 game where he did what we expected, something normal. Otherwise, it was something along the lines of mass Hellions with some other type of weird, composition.
Oh, and I'm being told Jarppi spelled with 2 P's. My bad about that, guys. We'll fix that here in just a moment. My small mistake there upon editing that at the last moment. Should be fixed now. There we go. Sorry about that. Anyways, Ruff coming across the map with a couple Hellions, the SCVs on the left side, but what, again, strikes me as curious is this floating barracks. Now, this does by no means look to be the exact nuke rush we saw from him before, but the floating barracks can be one of 3 things. 1, just simply vision. Acting like an overlord, you get the high ground vision, something you can then attack and poke with. 2, you can proxy, get some marauders across the map really quick. Or 3, well, quite frankly, there is no option 3, it's Ruff. For anyone else, it could have just been like he's using it for scouting because he's going full on mech. But Ruff has got the Banshee and the Hellions coming up behind us. There is a bunker at the top of the hill that's not going to be easy to get through. And the Siege Snakes just spawned as well.
What's nice about facing Ruff in this type of format where you are alerted to who you're facing far in advance. It just sounds gross, man. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm muting
Is
the
that-
game mic, not your mic. I forgot. My bad.
you can study him, and you can really have maybe not a hard counter, because what he does is not necessarily something that if it doesn't work, like an immediate counterattack can kill him, but you can really just stop him in his tracks. Like this mass Hellion stuff that he always got away with getting up onto the ramp and doing a lot of damage, and he would land his barracks and building Marines while his Hellions were dealing a lot of damage to your RCVs. Like all that stuff can be easily like countered. Like, really not that hard. It's just the case that most people played like they were like, usual, which was taking the risk of not walling off.
Oh, almost got us right on that Reaper. Sorry to cut you off there. It's a little bit close. That one SCV just a little bit too shy. And because of this, Ruff's taking quite a bit of damage at home. Of course, all of his troops are across the map, but he skirts past all this with a nice little medevac pickup there. So he gets to the main, gets right past those siege tanks to that nasty bunker he was worried about before.
He was more worried about a frontal assault because that's what Ruff has been doing on Overgrowth when the drop Hellions was obviously something he really should have been worried about.
It's funny that you phrase it. Oh, these SCVs are lined up, stacked up pretty nicely. I was gonna say though,
they still are.
Well, actually, yeah, this isn't. He's not out of the woods yet. More Hellions coming from the backside. These tanks will eventually clean this up, of course.
That last shot killed a bunch. Jarppi down to 10 or 13 SCVs.
It doubled. It went from 8 kills to 15 pretty quickly. The Banshee coming in is a little bit scary as well. There's a Viking some turrets up though. But going back to what we talked about at the start of the game, this particular opening out of Jarppi, even with the siege tanks, actually is quite vulnerable to things like a nuke dropping early on. Not that it was what he went for, but it's just funny to consider that it's within Ruff's sort of bag of tricks, within his Batman utility belt. He's got a lot of really scary things that players like Jarppi, while these openings are strong and good for the defense against most, don't know how it would have held up here. Now in the middle of the map, he's going to bleed out one of his tanks. I'm surprised he doesn't turn around the Marines. There we go.
His Marines can't take on the Banshee with any good any micro at all, honestly, from Ruff. And these are Marines that are getting one shot, and of course they get two shot if they do have full health. They're not willing to stand up, and Jarppi's attack has to retreat. Now Ruff isn't really that far ahead, or he wouldn't have been far ahead if he hadn't done as much SCV damage as he did. But his command center was pretty late too, so Jarppi is coming back, and that's SCV count.
All right, so he picks up most of the Marines. This Banshee will die, but he'll get one of the tanks for it. So. I mean, this pays for itself. Here comes the second Banshee, though.
Yeah, 2 tanks. Maybe a third if he doesn't have a scan, although with 2 orbitals, you should be saving your scans.
The turret's there as well for detection.
Well, he could have forced out another scan, and he should have, honestly.
Still, though, a couple tanks down. Not too fun. Those are very expensive units you don't want to have to lose. But as far as the resources lost goes, it's not looking too great here for Jarppi. But do keep in mind, guys, a lot of what he's been doing is bleeding out through Marines, which are, quite frankly, probably the most dispensable units you have.
Yeah. There can become problems, of course, that you realize you just don't have much of an army.
Oh, no.
Like a couple of Marines here and there, not a big deal.
Because most of the tanks died, this Hellion drop once again is actually going to do quite a bit of damage.
Jarppi's army died, honestly. Like, a few Marine kills here and there, like, okay, and then the tanks died as well, but suddenly you realize you don't really have a lot of production at this stage. You are still usually on 1 barracks. You just have anything to defend.
4 SCVs. He's got a tank on the low ground if he get them there, but that's the question, right? Can he get them there? Oh, this is going to stink quite a bit. SCV kills up to 28 now. And, of course, for Ruff, he's just trading out Hellions. These are not even gas-based units. He might snag another one here on the tail end of the retreat. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, Ruff he's playing really great. He's playing like he usually does, honestly, putting really good emphasis on Hellions and using them correctly. But we haven't seen a Terran who seems up to the challenge of taking on Ruff. It's just like his style is not the new meta that is amazing and no one else can deal with it. It's really not, but just the Terrans that we've seen him place up against.
Hellion Elevator's been around since Wings of Liberty. This is, not the newest thing by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not the strongest thing either. It's not like an instant kill. The Hellion Marine drop has been very hard to deal with, but they've actually just been Hellions so far.
He's going to be a little bit preoccupied in the main to not scan his Banshee. Might get the siege tank. If it does, it's going to open the door for those Hellions, but no! Does manage to snipe off the Banshee. Does drive back those Hellion drops once more.
Well, that tank is so low now that a run-by definitely could kill it. This run-by cannot.
Interesting choice to go for the Marines.
His SCV damage is really good, but he could at this point just.
She didn't kill any all that time.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like the Hellion drops are getting less and less effective because the production finally is starting to kick in.
Take that back. No, he still actually didn't kill SCVs. He killed 2 Marines, but somehow no SCVs, even with that extra one on the side. Banshee coming from the north end, gonna get a nice cancel on this command center, or stall out if you want to call it that.
There is a Viking on the other side of the map. I was just like, what is that red dot? It's so useless. That could be helping out.
It can either be at home, yeah, maybe lands when when Ruff moves out, or I don't know, but you know, it is a bit unfortunate that Jarppi's taking so much damage. At this point,
Jarppi got a Thor. You know how useless a Thor is? Like,
well,
seriously?
not against a Banshee. Don't forget, Banshees are light units, so they take that bonus
No,
damage.
no, okay, it's not worth
It's-
it to get a Thor for a Banshee because it's
Oh,
gonna
no,
suck
yeah.
at every other every
No,
other.
I agree fully and entirely. Like, the Viking at home is what should have been what the Thor is now. But, you know, you're taking so much damage, you can't even build Marines. It's a stupid desperation move, but it's one
Build
that...
a Viking. Why build a Thor?
I don't know. I'm just trying to rationalize this for poor Jarppi here. It's just in so much trouble.
This might not be quite breakable. The bunker did not stand for.
Well, this thing's actually going to do pretty nicely here, and that Thor will
Oh,
live
the
to see that
Thor.
way. Now, okay, this is where we're going to talk about like real silly shenanigans, guys. Well, Jarppi's not going to be doing like a Thor push or anything. There was a strategy once upon a time, and it still gets utilized from time to time, where you can proxy Thors, you can go for Thor rushes. And the thing is, low amounts of Marines without Stim Pack actually can't really deal with a Thor if it has SCVs on it repairing. The problem is, we're well past that point, and the Thor will do some real nice damage, don't get me wrong, but as Zombie was pointing out, this is not the most effective unit. This is probably the most ineffective unit for its cost, quite frankly, that Jarppi has.
Yeah, you know, it would even be better if he was facing mech. Literally going a Thor against Bio is the least effective thing you can do, unless it was a Thor rush, which you're right, still happens every so often and still can be effective.
Well, this is looking pretty rough. Anytime you gotta pull SCVs into the fight, it's never a good sign. Marauder's still dancing around the back end here, and you know, it's weird to consider. Well, Ruff, look at that. Hit G for a second. Look at that tech tree. Jarppi has absolutely nothing. No stim, no combat shields, no weapon upgrades. Nothing going for him whatsoever. At this point, well, I mean, even if he holds off the drop, like you're 17 minutes in the game, no stim pack, playing bio. I'm sorry, Jarppi, but this is not going to be your game.
Yeah, I didn't even really realize he was going for bio. I assumed with the Thor he's going to get more factories, but that was just, you know, Ruff's goes up 1-0, but that was the initial SCV kills. That's what that was.
I don't think it was even the initial kills so much as it was just not knowing how to deal with the constant harass follow-up. I mean,
thus getting the kills.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the first kills or anything like that, but it's just like, okay, look, you know, you sent your Viking across the map, you built the Thor at home. I mean, definitely Jarppi was feeling a little discombobulated, I think it's safe to say. You know, kind of bums me out here a little personally, too, is, again, not that Jarppi played good versus bad, he just did not respond to Ruff properly, and this is one of those things where, look, you've got like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, since the group stage, since the qualifiers. Look up Ruff, figure out what he does. He streams frequently, you can learn about his weirder strategies and adapt, but, maybe may not have been the case here for poor Jarppi.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, we're going to have the second game up here in just a moment, I think. So do sit tight. We're not going to be too long, hopefully. Oh, that's the Portuguese stream as lobby. Okay, so guys, we're gonna actually toss a small commercial break to save me a little bit of face. Not that any of it's even showing. See you guys here in just a moment, though, with more Copa America.
In the bottom, as the Red Terran, it is Ruff.
Sorry, I forgot to mute my mic to stream. Okay, so, sorry I've had a wicked follow-up to my intro, but pretending I didn't intro already. Spawning top left corner of the map from Renegades of Hell, it's the blue Terran player, Jarppi.
Dude, I was gonna totally like BM you for saying in the bottom or the top, and I'm like, no, it's just the top. There's no more.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I guess they didn't hear it.
So it works out. It works out. Now you just look like a jerk for no reason. This is Group B tonight, ladies and gentlemen, of Copa America. This is game number 2 in this best of 3. And of course, the leading at the moment is Ruff 1-0 over his opponent. Sorry about that. I am going to be constantly muting my mic tonight, guys, because I'm making a lot of really not fun noises due to allergies. Trying to see if you guys a bit of trouble. So hopefully it won't cause too many issues. But
sexy noises. What the hell is this SCV doing?
No, I like this. He's actually scouting to make sure there's not going to be an 888. I mean, it would make perfect sense for a player like Jarppi, who kind of fumbled that last game, to go for a bit of cheese. It's something we often see, not just in like amateur tournaments, but pro players as well. You lose game number 1, you come back with a 2 racks. You lose game number 1, you come back with an 888. That sort of follow-up, but it is just standard stuff out of Jarppi.
Well, the thing is that Ruff at least has made sure that every time he goes for a build that can be, quote-unquote, hard countered by a double Reaper, he always scouts, you know? Something I really noticed about it, and I guess that is something that's happening right now. If you go for a double Reaper into a factory with a 12 gas, you get out Reapered by a 2-rack Reaper, obviously, and then you have to wait a long time for the heli, and it does a lot of damage. So I think it's what Ruff is doing right now, and that's why he was so cautious about it.
It's funny too, because the 2-racks Reaper really hasn't fallen out of favor. I mean, once upon a time at the start of Wings of Liberty, it was kind of the auto win build for a bit of time. Nowadays, it's not as much of a build order win, but still can be in the perfect scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely perfect scenarios. There really don't exist a lot of build order wins. See, no, it's Jarppi the one who's afraid of a 2-racks, but he has an SCV over on the other side, so I wouldn't see that.
He scouted the racks, yeah. Like for him, this can't look too weird out of Ruff. I mean,
yeah.
It's what like if you don't scout this, you get paranoid. But seeing this precisely, he should know that it's just a Reaper, especially with that one popping out just now. Either way, whether it's 2x or not, Marauders with concussive shells will hold him here in the early game.
You know, I really think he was super paranoid, because there is cases, especially with someone like Ruff, who can put one barracks in the main and then hide the other one. In fact, you try and hide the other one usually in your base, so if they scout just and get out quickly, they don't see it. But people have been posting the second one, you know, random locations on the map. So I think Jarppi was really just that paranoid. That means that the Marauder and slow really isn't going to help him out, especially if Ruff doesn't go for mech, whereas we usually get Marauders and slow.
Funny enough, though, if this was like the follow-up with the Hellions again, this would help cover his bases a little bit. That concussive shell is huge.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But you know what's even better dealing with the Hellions is a wall.
Yeah, I agree. This is the opening here at the front is a bit weird.
The silence again.
Yeah, sorry, that's me ducking away from the microphone as fast as I can because the sneeze is not coming. But
a Marauder can eventually be DPS down, as we can see. It's with the slow, it can catch the Reapers like this. You have to take that into account when you try and micro it. But if the Reapers had survived, came back later, that Marauder would have died.
Yeah, that healing factor can kick in pretty nicely. Well, Jarppi's got one low health Marauder. It's not going to get a whole lot more effectiveness, but it's already kind of accomplished its job as far as this game goes. Just keeping him alive here in the early game.
Well, Ruff is mixing it up a little bit already. You know, we've been seeing him do nothing but Hellions. Maybe one game he did not go for some type of Hellion or mass Hellion, but those are rare than go for Hellions. So right now he's going for 2 more barracks and tanks. Interestingly enough, both people have skipped trying to go up to Starport. Immediately they're skipping the whole Banshee versus Raven Viking portion of the TVT that is common in 99% of TVTs.
Well, command center on the way here for Jarppi, sails it over, so he's not too far behind that of Ruff. It's just a bit of an odd opening, and I don't think Ruff is expecting to get shut down so easily, but not that that's going to deter him here in this game.
No. The 50-50 for Marauder slow, not going to be too useful. The Marauders aren't really going to be too useful, but it was really not that big of an investment, so they're still even on SCVs, they're even kind of relatively even on the command center timing.
You know, it's kind of funny, actually, just thinking about the Marauder for a moment. It's the one unit in TVT especially where I feel like you don't get it because it's good against other units, but it's because other units are bad against it, so to speak. Like, the reason, for example, you guys don't see Marauders in Tank Marine versus Tank Marine is like, well, yes, they do crush tanks, they're not that good, but the reason you see them in mech where tanks are still involved is because the Hellions don't really touch them so much as it is the damage they deal to like a tank or a Thor. So there's some funny dynamics to these to the units of the Terran Armada, but Marauders sadly are kind of the I don't know, redheaded stepchild, just off in the corner.
Little bit. I mean, you only get them because they last so long.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you're saying. Is that the same reason you get them against Colossus, honestly. Although sometimes if you can reach the Colossus, obviously they destroy them. But your army's surviving more than Marines do, obviously. But you just don't want them in a versus Marine tank because they don't have enough DPS. Like if your opponent has some like 5 Marauders and you have nothing but Marines, your Marine force will win out. Even though the Marauder is tanking a little bit more.
Yeah, I like this defensive spot here for Jarppi as long as he doesn't move out too early. I mean, he's only got 1 tank granted, but this should help hold pretty nicely. Second tank now outright, and he's got to be careful. Oh, don't fly over those Marines. It's a no-fly zone.
Ruff should not push up here. He should leave. What is he doing?
Yeah, he had
vision for tanks as well.
Yeah, he saw with the Viking that he knew precisely that wasn't going to go well for him. Loses this battle outright.
Okay.
And that was just a big mistake. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If he didn't scout, if he didn't have that Viking, if he didn't see that coming, then you're like, oh, okay, Ruff got caught off in a bad engagement. But he knew about the tank position. He saw the army. I don't know why he stayed there.
I have no idea either. Really don't. Just a big old mess up right there. I do want to take into consideration the map maker for this map, making sure that the would-be 4th base does not allow tanks to siege the natural mineral line.
Oh, good guy. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. But can't you, would they? No, they probably wouldn't reach from over here. I take that back.
No, I think people have tried. If there's something behind it, like missile turrets, they will take it down, and then you could drop on them.
Yeah, but the actual mineral line's out of range. That's
yes. It's just...
Oh,
God, that's why I can't be a map maker. This medevac could die to this Marine. Oh, it unloads, though.
Good watch there, though.
If it didn't unload and that Marine stemmed, and it was still going really slow, I think it could have chased it down.
A lot of what ifs here in the butterfly effect cast. Group B, the butterfly effect with Zombie Grub. No, I actually really like, though, even though it did die, Ruff now knows there's the potential of drops. We see him throwing turrets down right now. 1, of course, or 2 turrets don't stop a medevac outright due to the nice capability of boost, but it'll help shut it down pretty quick.
Have you remembered or did you watch recently any of the beginning Heart of the Swarm games in DVT? Where it was just mass doom drops with speed boost?
Yeah, you just see all through those turrets, you'd see like 5 in a row, and like maybe one medevac would go down.
I was watching Flash vs. Innovation, like in the beginning of Heart of the Swarm, and that was like the entire game. It was awesome, actually. It was really fun to watch, but that was almost it, and everyone was afraid that the speed boost would destroy the matchup, honestly. But no, it's fine. Just to be a little more paranoid. Maybe put a sensor up earlier, as we see Ruff doing.
Well, what's curious too, just about missile turrets, to talk on the topic while we got a bit of downtime, guys, is these 2 turrets, while necessary out here, these will never really net the kills you want. It's the turret that's usually in the mineral line or behind the supply depots or within the barracks that catches the medevacs a little bit unprepared. You know, they boost through those first 2 and they think they're in the clear, so you see people just start unloading without moving, you know, without doing that moving drop type thing. And it's those secondary turrets that tend to catch them and shut it down. But we don't see any of those right now, so not going to perhaps come into effect, but worth noting. Also, actually, with this little scumbag ground area, you could pick off the turrets with the Marines. Just use the metaphor for high ground.
Yeah, it's definitely something you can do. Taking these Elnagas again, at least off to the right. Jarppi is pushing out, and Jarppi took an amazing engagement. Just really, really good. So that explains the, the 10 to 15 supply, but as we can notice, he's up by about 40. I believe, isn't his third a lot later? No, actually, Ruff never got a third. So Ruff. Oh, you know what? Ruff.
Well, that's why his army
SCVs.
supply. Well, that's the thing. His overall supply is down because of the SCVs, but he's got a pretty nice army supply value that's going to doom drop here into the natural, and that is, well, this is kind of what Zombie was talking about, guys. You can see the boost come into great effect, go right past these turrets, and none of the medevac's probably going to go down. Oh, 1 does barely. But those siege tanks. Oh, those siege tanks. He
does lift the command center, but then sends it off to the wrong way. It probably would have died either way. But that is 1 command center less. Luckily for him, he has a 3rd ready and.
I don't like Jarppi's his hesitance. I think it just got him killed. If he had just gone for an equalized doom drop, or if he had pushed through those back rocks instead of If you guys watch the minimap, he went for it, came back, went for it, and then came back this 4th time. And it's this delay that's going to cost him. Because Ruff's going to have a good position on the high ground. He's going to have a ramp that Jarppi's going to choke through trying to get up here. And of course, Siege Tank's already sieged up. This is looking really bad for Jarppi. Even if he breaks
really
this. Even, like, he should be able to break this, but even in doing so, it's going to he's already lost way too much.
Yeah. Well, now remember that he's about to be on 3 bases again because he had pretty much considered, oh, it's going to be a long TVT, let me kind of focus on economy. He's already building what would have been a 4th command center. That's pretty fast, and that's going to be used for his 3rd. What's really disappointing is his production more so. Is that he doesn't have that many minerals to just automatically place down 5 more racks, 2 more factories, and you know that there he is again. He doesn't have that much money or time.
Well, that's the thing, too. I mean, you've heard every commentator talking about some point, guys, and it stands true right now. A lot of times, it's not about killing the Terran's economy SCVs, it's about getting top of that production, and quite frankly, Ruff did exactly that. He's got nice upgrades on his Marines, 2-1 versus 1-1 of his opponents. Simon in here looking pretty strong.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the Marines just getting murdered on the ramp! It's not even close!
Oh, the tanks are gonna fall if the Marines fall. It's just... Oh, he actually lifts up and goes away. Oh, well, okay.
Not a bad choice. There's nothing over here to defend the SCV.
Very true. There's nothing. Luckily for Jarppi, his 2 factories are still alive and ready, and if he had the time, if he wasn't being constantly harassed, he could start to accrue a good tank count, which lets you, of course, survive much longer than just having a big Marine count. But Ruff is not stopping.
Ruff's actually going to make sure the army is 100% out of position here to defend this 3rd, as triple drops come towards the main once again. This one has siege tanks in it. It's not just naked Marines, so it's going to be a little bit harder to deal with for poor Jarppi. Yeah, siege up here on the low ground. This not even about killing tanks. It's not about killing Marines so much. It's about just the zoning potential, and Ruff has that in spades.
Yeah, Jarppi had a kind of cool idea of sieging his tanks on the low ground too, but then you realize that it doesn't really cover anything in your base, so he has to try and move them, has to try and do something.
He just lost medevacs. That's what's going to be really painful here.
He just doesn't have... with another sandwich, he'll clean this up again, but he lost production, he lost a lot of army. Ruff, while not on a 3rd, you know, it's still his 2 base versus 2 base, and Ruff is in fact about to get a 3rd.
These tanks are twitching out over there. Of course, they are within range and such. Problem is, of course, limitations through vision.
You know, he can drop on those tanks and take care of them.
I just realized that as well, yeah.
He could stim and take care of them, honestly.
It's 4 tanks. I don't know if he could stim in, but he could definitely drop.
I think he could, as long as he was a little bit spread.
Well, coming in from 2 angles, looks to be the case here for Ruff. So he's going to break this. Natural ramp actually going to have a nice push down it. However, Jarppi still... a slight disadvantage coming from the backside as Ruff with his ground reinforcements. Now, Jarppi's economy is still good, guys. He's still on 2 bases, but yeah, GG, because he's got no production behind that. It doesn't matter how much money you have if you can't afford anything.